address. I'm going to talk about my views on the changing land use pattern, particularly in the coastal area, and how can we enhance the fisheries production through coastal aquaculture. First of all, I would like to share a news clipping. I'm starting with that news clipping, which was, couple of years back. It says that Blue Revolution, India ranked first in export of fish products, which is certainly, very good movement for all the Indians to cherish it, because when you say India ranked first in the export of fish product, that means we really are producing enough material which is self-sufficient, and then we are, putting for the export. Is it true? I have a little bit doubt about it. First is, it is happy moment to see that India ranked first in the export of fish products. But it's not very happy moment to see that we are not self-sufficient in the fishery food requirement. Let us admit it, that Indians as a whole, are we really getting a sufficient food protein, average at least required for each healthy person in India? We have to look it from that. When you read such type of news, fantastic, because you are getting, good foreign exchange from that. However, we need to be very careful with such, exports of items, particularly food items from the country, when we ourselves are not self-sufficient. So with this, are we self-sufficient or not? I will be talking. I will be also talking about what are the needs, and these are my perspective. Okay. So with increasing awareness of the damage caused to the ocean ecosystem, particularly from the unplanned and rampant development, it is very pertinent to include sustainable dimension to the development. And that is what the United Nations has done it. And therefore, the term blue economy, blue growth has been coined, and not only coined, it is being popularly used as a government policy tag by across the countries, across the globe, countries across the globe. So this is a policy tag actually being used, such as the blue economy and, blue growth. Well, UN General Assembly has, as I have mentioned it, in 2015, he have set 17 goals, and the 14th goal is Sustainable Development Goal 14 is about life below the water. And it is one of that 17 Sustainable Development Goal established in 2015. It talks about conservation and sustainability. So conservation and sustainability for what? To use the ocean, sea and marine resources. So this is how everybody has to work and see that how best each country can perform in fulfilling the sustainability goal, specifically with goal number 14. So Blue Revolution is part of this sustainable development goal. Now, when we talk about Blue Revolution, what is it really means? If you literally means rapid development of aquaculture, which is considered as a blue revolution, which is an appropriate to increase, or which an approach to increase the global fish production globally in order also to contribute to the human nutrition and food security. This is what I was talking about. Nutrition and food security. Certainly fish as a source of food with high protein, it is, we should have it. That's what I was talking about when the news item I was talking. Fish is a source of food with high protein, and it should be available therefore at an affordable price to everybody. That is what should be our goal. It can also improve socioeconomic status, generate employment, that too relatively at low cost investment with high profit. This is what the fishery sector is as such. Where are we if you look at it, the global scenario? If you look at it, the global fish production, here is, and projections. Presently, we are somewhere around here. What we have it, a capture fishery. This is a capture fishery, which is more or less now stagnant for last at least 2 decades. The model, this is actual and this is the model projections. We have, if you can see it, the aquaculture. So aquaculture is this. This is the present, somewhere around here we are, and these are the projections. So if you look at total, this is how the total it is going. So total fish production is certainly increasing, but it is not at the cost of the capture fishery, but at the cost of the aquaculture. And it is very visible in this. You can see, clearly the capture fishery is stagnant over last 2 decades. A straight line almost. However, the aquaculture, which was around, share was around 26% in 2000, today in 20 years, it has increased and almost reached 50%. So that is where the aquaculture is, playing very important role, and it is going to play very important role in terms of the quality food security. I'm not saying just food security. Quality food is the important, high protein content. That is what matters when we talk about the health of your citizen. Now, seafood production also, if you look at it overall, it is not only fish production, but overall, if you see the wild catches and the seafood, which includes also the aquaculture, seaweed, also the part of it. Where does India stands? If you look at it, capture fishery, we had very good growth of the capture fishery immediately after the independence. However, again the stagnation came, and presently we have almost, although we have expanded our fishing zone, almost it is stagnant or it is going down compared to previous years. So there is not much scope globally also and within the country also to increase the capture fishery production. However, demand is very high. As you can see, projection demands globally are very high. Indian will talk about that also. Well, therefore, if you look at it, farming of aquatic organisms such as fish, bivalves, prawns, seaweeds are growing fast growing food production globally. They are definitely. It is growing almost at the rate of 6% during the last decade. Now it is almost more than 8%. Aquaculture production in 2016, 4 years back. That's what I was just mentioning that. Around 50 or more than 50 million tons, which is about 64% of the total fish production globally. And almost, more than 30% of that total production, aquaculture production is specifically from coastal aquaculture and mariculture. So coastal aquaculture and mariculture has got huge role to play as far as the future projections are concerned and requirements are concerned. Therefore, what is important when we talk about global aquaculture is, again, aquaculture is mainly practiced in Asia. More than almost around 90% of total aquaculture production, it comes from Asian countries. So Asia is going to play a critical role in future quality food production and supply to the world. This is the statement I want to make it as far as the aquatic food production is concerned. More than 600 aquatic species, again coming to the species, both plant and animal, were put under the practice, and presently it could be definitely more than that. Now if you look at the projection, here are 2030 projections, and if you look at it, the aquaculture specifically, this is the capture fishery. Okay, I was talking about the stagnation. It has almost reduced. If you look at it in 2 decades picture, it is going down from 65 million tons to metric tons to 58 million metric tons. It is going to be something like that projection says. However, aquaculture is showing the increase, and actually what today's projections, I was reading in some, it has already projected in 2030, because we already reached this figure somewhere around this. So to meet these figures, projection figures, you require around another more than 40 million metric tons of the aquaculture product to meet the increasing demand and as projected in the future. Because that is because the human population also increasing at very fast. So there's a demand also is increasing at very fast. I'll talk to about that, the demand in a couple of slides possibly. If you look at it, global capture fish production, that's what I was just mentioning, is around 90 million tons, about which 87% come from marine fisheries and only 13% from the inland fishery. This is again, there's a mismatch, because we do have it good inland water bodies. Global population is somewhere around 7.8 billion today. And that's what I was talking about, the demand which is going to increase in future. Whereas what is expected is in 2030, as I was just talking, not around 100, but it will be around 110 million tons of fish will be required to feed this population. Now, from where it is coming, capture fishery has no role to play because it is going negative. Even if countries like India or some other countries who have got extended EEZ, and if you go in the deep fishery, you may be able to get slight increase in your capture fishery, but it is not going to be sufficiently enough to meet the required even domestic demand. Forget about export in the future. So for the domestic as well as export, there is no other way than going for the aquaculture. When you look at the India as a whole, today's India's population is 1.7 billion. We have 70% of that population is fish eater. Believe me, when I was talking about the first slide, India is the first in export. There are 70% of population is fish eater, and they are increasing by 5% every year. So thanks to the medical science, which is popularly putting in advertise that fish is good for the health, and Every year, the percentage of fish eater in India is increasing. There's no doubt about it. There are reasons for that. One is medical science, another is the affordability. Now, per capita consumption of fish is projected something like, or estimated is something like 17 kg per annum. I have a little bit doubt about this figure, but then this is what is available in the public domain. So per capita fish consumption, if it is 17 kg per annum, it's a good sign that it is increasing. But if you look at it, the total population and fish production, we don't have that much fish production. And if you again include the export, expected demand is met only 50% from the marine sector. Whatever the demand is, only 50% is coming from the marine sector. And there is a limited scope to increase this, as I already told you, particularly capture fishery. Then the balance of 50% has to come from mariculture or aquaculture. Both you take it, freshwater and coastal aquaculture. So the balance has to come from the mariculture, and that demand is going to increase, believe me. That's what the projections are saying. Globally as well as India's, we have 70% population and increasing by 5% every year into that one. Thus, we do have it potential. There's no doubt about it. But we need a shift both in your thinking and policy. How? I'll put my views in that. So India has around 19,000 or over 19,000 reservoirs spread over 15 states. So huge quantity of fresh water is stored across the 15 states with an estimated surface area of 3.15 million hectares. Huge water bodies are there. Good quality fresh water is there. We need to trap that fresh water for the fish production. Not just conventional fish production, but we need to play a proactive role, put up a lot of resource into that one, and then it is possible, very much possible, not only to meet that increase 50%, but will be in position to export the fish production. Because it is estimated that this water bodies has potential of what 980,000 tons of, so 10,000 tons of fish production. So this is what the potential is projected. Whereas India, if you look at it, we are growing economically, which is a good sign. Per capita income is almost $2,000. Forget about last year, but if you forget last year, we already had very good growth in GDP. So $2,000 per capita income is a good thing for the country like India. What is important I want to talk to about it is, in India, about almost 80% of population, that's what, again, coming to the first slide. Almost 80% of the population is suffering from the malnutrition, leading to high rates of mortality, stunted growth, low work output, reduced lifespan, 80% around. Why? Because they are not getting the quality food. Dal roti se thodi kaam chalega. You required, when you are talking about 2000 GDP, 2000 USD, dollar GDP, you have to talk about the quality food, not only just dal roti or vada dosa se nahi chalega. That is what I want to say. Because you are talking about one way your GDP is increasing, then your health of the people also have to be looked at. And that is what I was saying, that we need to have shift in thinking and the policy. Every Indian should get it a minimum required protein. And what is that minimum required protein? It has been recommended that we should have it at least around 70 gram of protein each year in every Indian meal. That is for India. How your GDP can be converted into the, and why that 5% fish eater are increasing every year? I have some views. Why? Generally, the eating habits in developed countries, India is not a developed country, but in developed countries, the eating habits are related to the income. Where people are well educated, they have sufficient money, and therefore they will eat what is good for their health. So healthy food. Now, not necessary what is produced locally, because they have money available to purchase it from outside. So generally, the eating habits in developed countries are related to the income and not necessary what is produced locally. What does it suggest? That for the country like India, which is developing very fast economically, as you can see it, so it suggests that the economically growing country will have choice of buying quality food in future. May not be produced locally, and it could be the fish. So when we talk about exporting, what about meeting the local demand? Because there will be people today itself, there are some part in the country where people are exporting fish. Thus, the demand for fish in highly populated countries like India is going to increase again in future. This is what I would like to say. It is not only what is present, but it is going to increase in future also. Well, where does we stand in that terms? At present, India's fish production, this is again from the ministry's figure. So, India is the second largest fish producer in the world with a total production of 13.7 million metric tons. This was last year's figure, of which 65% come from the inland sector. Now here is the, almost 50% of inland fish production is from culture fishery. 50% culture, 50% from the capture. So if you look at it, the fish increase from in the 2010-11 to last year 17-18, there was over 20% of increase in the total fish production. This increase is directly from the freshwater sector, inland fisheries, not from the, certainly not from the capture fishery of marine. There could be some share from the culture fishery of brackish or this thing, but largely is coming from the freshwaters or inland sources. So, which are those states? Basically, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Gujarat, Kerala, Tamil Nadu are contributing for that increased fish production, basically from the culture fishery, both inland and marine. It can be seen here very clearly. Well, so what this Indian fish sector has seen, almost 15% of annual growth in the fish production, and therefore India stood first in the world for the export of the fishery. Again, first slide, what I was saying. Central government have already taken very proactive in. Now, already allotted 70,000 crore in 16-17 budget for the development of fisheries sector and animal husbandry, with an increase or higher, almost more than 20% higher compared to the earlier year budget. So, which is a good sign of, putting efforts, or at least starting with. For India, the fisheries sector is certainly growing rapidly, as I already mentioned it, almost 5% it is increased. And right now it is almost 12%, last one decade, or at least last 7-8 years, it is around 10% it is increasing. Fish and fishery products are emerging as the largest group in agriculture. In fact, I will show you, agriculture is no more, profitable if you look at it as a, economic terms. Therefore, freshwater aquaculture is showing a overwhelming increase, almost, tenfold increase in last one decade, with a mean annual growth of 6%, freshwater particularly. Considering the vast resource potential and possibility in future, possibilities, the prospect of the fisheries sector, a separate department of fisheries was created in February 2019 by central government. And that is, again, is a very, appropriate step, I thought, because a more focus will be given on the fish and fishery product. Earlier, it was part of agriculture ministry, and therefore efforts in the fishery sectors were like a step, the step brotherly treatment was given to the fishery sector. Fisheries has not been developed as it demands and potential in the country. But nevertheless, present government has taken very good proactive steps. I hope it will sustain it, and we as a fishery scientists and fisher should take the advantage of this, shift in the policy. Now, when we talk about shift in the policy, as I was taking, we don't have much scope for the capture fishery, particularly marine. It has to be more on the culture fishery, and that too, if we can go for coastal aquaculture, mariculture, and inland. So, increase in fish farming will benefit not only the country as a whole, but individual farmers by increasing their income. Export, as I told, will also increase and contribute to the GDP of the country. Will ensure, this is the most important, will ensure, when we talk about food security, will ensure a quality food to the citizen. There are different problems associated to this one, but that has to be tackled. So it has a potential definitely to increase fishermen's income, export, contributing to GDP, and the food security. So we need to go for why is fish important for India? We all know, as far as fish like rohu, katla, mrigal, or rohu is there, it is the high in the protein. It has the omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin A, B, C, and one should eat rohu at least once in a week. That's what recommended, and it has been benefited. That's what I say, that thanks to the medical science progress and advertisement, people every year 5% people are increasing. 70% of the population which is fish eater is a good sign. So it is not only rohu, katla, and mrigal, there are different other fishes also. But I just thought why fish is important, I should talk about it. I was just mentioning about the protein deficiency, and that is where we need to focus more about, protein deficiency is the major cause of the disease and death in poor developing countries. This is a statement made in UN. And therefore we as a populous country need to look at the protein supplement, and fish is the cheapest and easily available food which can be used for the protein supplements. We need to promote that. Okay, where from the fish, where does the fish stands in terms of the per capita? This thing is given in different countries. I thought I will not take much time on that one. Important is global seafood consumption has already been doubled in last 50 years, and it is around 22.3 kg per capita globally. India is around 17. That's what, again, I'm not very sure because in this earlier, I have already mentioned it was 17. I was not very sure about it. And that is why I said that probably we are around 10, 11 kg per capita fish consumption in the presently. Even at 1% of the total people start consuming that, the roughly the small fishes even have high protein content, and we should have it. As I was telling that the fish consumption in countries like the European Union, it is 27. Ours is 10. It is 27. So 3 times. Highest consumption is in Portugal, almost 62 kg per. Therefore, we need to boost our fish consumption and production simultaneously. For the domestic consumption, most important. Okay, we do have it, the wonderful water bodies around the coast and inland also. And these water bodies need to be trapped with appropriate technology. What I would like to say is we need to shift in our planning and policy. Now, when I say shift into policy and planning is what we have been misusing some of these resources. These are the resources which are for the future. Some of the beautiful coastal areas are being blindly allotted for the industrial development. I'm not against that, but it should be identified as a potential area for aquaculture. And if it is potential area for aquaculture, not only from the ecologically sensitive area, but aquaculture, because this is the future food. And you cannot buy the food for such a huge country by selling your industrial product. Food has to be produced domestically, and therefore it has to be a prioritized. So we need to give a focus on the food production, and if it can be quality food, coastal areas are wonderful areas, and therefore these needs to be identified, preserved, and should be kept only for aquaculture, not for any other activity. Because aquaculture is the environment friendly, sustainable. If you practice it properly, zero pollution. And it can be without much modification. So naturally we can maintain it. We have beautiful coastlands, but our planning has been failed because whenever we go unplanned development and even don't expect that what will happen in future. This is one of the example I can give you. Ample of Kerala is the best example. Agriculture and forest land have been converted. I don't know whether how much is for industry, but real estate definitely. Half of those flats which are constructed around these areas are not even occupied. So do you really need it? So preserve those areas for the aquaculture. Agriculture is not profitable, but aquaculture is profitable. Why can't we convert it? Those areas for the aquaculture. Not much investment, as I already told you about. Mining is again very essential, but how much impact it is causing to the aquatic bodies particularly need also has to be seen it, study it, and see that mining is required for the country like India, which is growing, because you required metal requirement is also proportionately increasing. So you have to stick the balance between these two. Otherwise, what will happen? Your all aquatic water bodies or your coastal estuarine freshwater water bodies are going to get polluted. You can't treat it. Certainly, it is not easy to treat it. So you are playing with the fire because you are contaminating your food itself. Although you are looking from the industrial development from the metal and other industries. However, when your food itself is contaminated, and if you don't get the food in good quantity and quality, what is the use of getting that all industrial products? So please see that your water bodies are kept intact, maintained properly, and it will be definitely producing more food for the country. Agriculture sector, we know that it employs almost half of the workforce in India. Good. That is, pertinent, because that is why India is self-sufficient in the food. However, for the farmer, is it economical? No more economical, because most of the farm product were only wheat, rice, maize. These are the 3-4 only products are maximum. And therefore, rest of the things in India, not employing much people, not more product. And today, if you look at it, we have the sectors which are contributing to the growth are the service sector, industry sector growing slowly, but it is positively, whereas agriculture sector is negatively contributing to the GDP. That is what I was saying. Although 50% of workforce is, presently employed in agriculture sector, for the growth of the country, it is not contributing, mainly because it is a food industry, and therefore that has probably not been taken much into the account when you calculate the actual contribution. I have a little bit doubt. So because the agriculture is no more profitable, farmers are moving away from traditional agriculture and going for the modern agriculture, or some of them are selling their land for the industrial. That is also is a conversion of the land. This is where I would like to say that we need to see it, that this shift from the agriculture to industry needs to be looked at carefully, because if those areas which can be converted for aquaculture, be at the coast or in the interior part where the water resource is available, that should be first identified as potential agriculture and aquaculture, and then only, if it is not suited for both, then only go for the industrial. Otherwise, this is what happens when you have area which is unplanned and unplanned growth. You are destroying it, the nature, and then contaminating your water bodies. This is how the irrigation, groundwater is contaminated. What I need to see is that this type of future perspective should be there. This is one of the example in coastal Konkan region, Malvan, where today's fish market is something like based on traditional fishing. We should look at it, because this is not going to be sustained for more. We have to go for something like this, and the future something like cage culture, or mix of both. You go for cage culture, traditional cage culture. This is being used for the crab or shrimp culture, and then go for the cage culture. So issue in hands are basically converting a reclaiming of area from estuaries, mouth, intertidal beaches, coastal or even interior for the urban development or rural settlement, shipping, mining. Those are also important, but if it is not potential for agriculture and aquaculture, then only it should be. Particularly aquaculture, I'm talking about it, because this is for the future. Otherwise, we are not using these resources, but we are misusing these resources. So what I was talking about the aquaculture, presently we do have it, coastal aquaculture, like shrimp culture, what we are making it, mass, shrimp aquaculture, which is contributing nicely. We need, most important is the locally available fish, prawn, crab or crustacean mollusk species we need to target about it with less modification, so that even if it is required, the land can be brought back for the agriculture. That is what the policy needs to be there. Cage culture could be the wonderful, because we have the, CMFRI is doing a good job. We need to be more, again, proactive. That's what I wanted to tell you that. The fish culture within a limited area, it is possible. Norway, Chile have shown an example how to grow the fish in the limited area with the mass and not contaminating the water much. There will be definitely some contamination of the fertilizer and the different treatment we use it, but that can be definitely controlled. Like, I'm not saying that it can be stopped completely, but it can be controlled. Proper treatment is possible. So there is a huge potential of cage farming in India, both inland and the coastal area. CMFRI has already identified a huge area where they would like to deploy, in future, large number of cages. I hope that this will be, done under the new ministry, and there will be a good, increase in the. So over 10,000 cages, in fact, were already installed in India in different parts, but they were used only for limited species. That is what we need to expand it, locally available species, and there is the technology about the hatchery. So we need to R&D, do the R&D for the rearing of locally available culturable species. There the scientists will have to play major role. We need also to go for the seaweed cultivation, because there is huge food and pharmaceutical potential for seaweed in India, and we have beautiful areas around the coast where we can identify those areas and go for seaweed cultivation. Okay, when we talk about mariculture, we need to go three-dimensional, not only the surface but vertically. And some of the seaweed and molluscan culture are ideally suited for, like oyster mussels, can easily grown vertically in the water column. So use the water column, entire water column, not only the surface, for the aquaculture. So you can boost the total production in per unit area of production. Not much technological interventions are required, because we do have it within the country. What is required is government's support for these things. You require support, because people are not aware about the benefits. Once the people will get the idea, it will boom like a shrimp culture in India. Today, shrimp culture, government started initially, definitely in the 80s, and with the support. Today, fisher folks, particularly the big shrimp cultures in Nellore, Andhra Pradesh, are supporting the local government. So they are at that position now, because they are huge fishermen now, and huge farms owners are there. Well, what is important is, although aquaculture contributes to global food production and has potential to increase the seafood production, however, as I was telling, there are some issues related to environment, and that has to be also kept in mind before venturing into this one, because you cannot tackle the problem when it arrives. You can definitely tackle the problem in the planning stage, so that you can avoid those things. There are some issues like blue carbon emission from the mangrove forest, or shrimp culture. Increase aquaculture has greater demand of fresh water, brackish water, and marine water. So there will be water use other than the agriculture, huge quantity, and it could be groundwater, it could be dam water, reservoir water, both in the form of fresh water, brackish water, and marine water, and also that will be a good quality water only can be used for aquaculture. This has to also be seen as a user community. So water will be used for industrial purpose. That is what I mean. So that we need to, there are different type of problems which are envisaged, particularly in the how the biodiversity in the locally. That's what I was saying, that it will be affected if you introduce the different species. Definitely local biodiversity is going to affect it, and that is what I was saying, that if you can develop a technology to the locally available species, may be less productive in terms of their fecundity, low growth rate in terms of the growth of the species. However, they will be well suited to the local habitat, and it will be self-sustaining for long term. So that needs to be developed from local this thing. Just an example I thought I will give you. Same thing is in Kerala. Because I'm from Goa, we do have beautiful coastal lands. Those coastal lands can be used simultaneously for aquaculture and tourism. Instead of going for any other big industries or polluting industries. You can look it from the production and industry as a tourism as an industry. Both simultaneously it can go. And therefore, we need policy shift. That's what I was saying. That you don't need to do any modification much in the water bodies. They can be simultaneously used and user friendly, also sustainable. So we need to, look at it from the local available resources to be used.